Greetings, good people. Thanks for clicking on the video and welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. Before we get started, we're doing a recap of day 2 of the Milagro versus Megan Thee Stallion, or Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro defamation lawsuit. Okay, this is day 2. All right, so before I get into that, please pay your admission fee by hitting the like button. Be sure to drop down in the comments, share your thoughts, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, so day 2, I was on site. I was present, so I got the opportunity to sit through an entire day of Milagro Gramz on the stand for the second day. Now, the first day was Monday of the trial. I did not attend Monday. I did attend today, Tuesday, November the 18th, day 2. And when I got there at like 9:35, and I think they started at 9. The jury arrives at 9 and they get started shortly after. So when I walked in, Milagro was on the stand. So this is day 2 of Milagro on the stand being questioned by Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer. All right. Now, first of all, I just want to say that courtroom is so dang cold. Okay. Freezing cold. I did get the opportunity to do a quick, like, 5-minute live video after the first break. Check that out on the channel. Just kind of letting everybody know that I was on site and I felt that Milagro was handling herself very well on the stand, and I still feel that way. I did indicate in that live, that quick 5-minute live, that I'm not on anyone's side. I'm on She Royal B's side. I'm just giving my commentary. Take it or leave it. That's how I look at it. All right. So when I walked in, Milagro, she's on the stand and she's being questioned by O'Sullivan. That is Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer. And O'Sullivan asked to play a part of Millie's deposition video where she spoke about her conversation with Sunstar. Now, Sunstar is Tory Lanez' father. Tory Lanez' real name is Daystar Peterson. And they did address later on in the day, the judge pointed out that there was confusion with the Sunstar and Daystar, who's Sunstar, who's Daystar. Later on, Milagro's attorney, when she was cross-examined, her attorney did point out that a lot of people are confused, and instead of saying Daystar, that just refer to him as Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez' real name is Daystar Peterson. The jury, to me, they looked a little spaced out, uninterested, excuse me. There are 2 black people on the jury. The jury looked, they just looked a little like, why am I here? Okay. And I was not there day 1 for jury selection. And now I wish that I was. I intentionally didn't go day 1 because I just wanted to see, like, who was going to be there, what the crowd was going to be like. It's not crowded at all. I'm actually surprised that there isn't a ton of press outside of the courtroom. There are a couple of reporters. There's one, I think 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's one, at least one TMZ reporter. And that's who you see outside filming Megan Thee Stallion and Milagro Gramz as they're coming out of the courtroom. One of the reporters, like I said, TMZ reporter. But other than that, there are other YouTube content creators there. There are a couple of, I call them blue suits lawyers, not affiliated with the case, but there are lawyers there. They probably maybe hop from courtroom to courtroom listening in. A lot of people were in and out. A lot of the lawyers were in and out. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. But either way, the jury. The jury looked very disinterested. I don't know much about the jurors because, again, I wasn't there day 1, but they looked disinterested. There were points that, to me, the questioning, it was dragged out a little too long. Milagro is done for today. She ended her second day of questioning, and to my understanding, Milagro is not going to take the stand again. So once a witness is called and questioned for however long, that's it. They're not going to be called back up. Okay. So anyway, moving along. So O'Sullivan, he asked to play a part of Millie's deposition video where she spoke about her conversation with Tory Lanez's father, and she described him as someone who, talks about the Bible. She looks at him as a mentor. She mentioned that she, Milagro, lost her father, so she looks at Tory Lanez's father as a father figure, and there are text communication of him calling her or referring to Milagro as his daughter. Okay, she says that they did not discuss the incident between Tory Lanez and Megan the day that the shooting happened. I still want to say alleged, but I don't have to say alleged because of the trial, the verdict of the trial. Anyway, so text messages were shown by O'Sullivan. Remember, O'Sullivan is Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer, um, who reminded Cooper that these text messages were taken directly from her phone. So Millie was advised to explain the communication with someone in the messages. I'm just reading directly from my notes. I did not get an opportunity to kind of organize and compartmentalize everything. So I'm just going off of what I wrote, some of what I wrote. So Millie said that she couldn't make out the what the messages were, and then a message was played where Millie says, or audio was played where Millie says, if Tory lied to her, then she's going to slap him / want to fight because he told me we were gonna be vindicated. Did I fall for this? Have I been wooed? This is what Milagro is saying in the audio that was played. So Millie says that she said this in response to Tory saying that everyone will see. Now, you remember during the before the trial, remember Tory was posted online saying that everybody gonna see, the truth gonna come out, and there were other people along with Milagro who I guess believed Tory, if you could say it that way. They went along with a lot of what he said, and the truth will be revealed, and it's gonna come out, and so on and so forth. So they're discussing the state of California versus Tory Lanez. They pretty much discussed the trial the entire day. Okay. Milagro was on the stand until about maybe 5 o'clock, and then between 5 and 5:30, there were two people, one from Megan Thee Stallion's team, a lady from Megan Thee Stallion's team, one of the lawyers or whatever she is, and a paralegal got on the stand, and they were mimicking Kelsey's testimony during the state of California versus Tory Lanez trial. I'll get into that later. That was so annoying, but that was the last 30 minutes of court today. Anyway, so just an observation, right? At this time, I wrote down that Millie seemed cool and calm on the stand, and she answered confidently. She spoke clearly, and her tone seemed serious but not aggressive. She was very serious. To me, she was also a little animated and a little like she was acting a little bit, performing is the word that I'm looking for. But she was not aggressive, even when, Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer was trying to kind of bring it to her. She stayed even tempered. She didn't get angry. She didn't get an attitude, a stark difference from what most of us, if you follow Milagro and you've listened to her commentary, she can be very animated. She can be comical. She can be aggressive. She can be vulgar. So this was completely different, rightfully so, because who would get on the witness stand and act like that? She's performing when she's on her podcasts and her shows. That type of behavior is totally would work against her if she was in court. It would be unacceptable. So I'm not surprised, though, to be honest with you. I think that she knows how to handle herself. She knows how to act in certain spaces. She knows how to adapt in certain spaces. So I wasn't surprised. So there was text threads between Millie and Tory Lanez's father. Text communications that there was text communication of their plans to meet up in Miami. And that meetup was for the sole purpose of Milagro interviewing Sunstar, Tory Lanez's father. So this is what Millie explained when this evidence was brought up. So basically, O'Sullivan is bringing up pieces of evidence, text messages, Twitter posts, and audio from the deposition and some audio from Millie's station head, and asking her to pretty much explain. And she did just that. All right. So the next piece of evidence was communication with Sunstar about getting Tory's information. So Millie said that Tory's team sent info to media outlets like TMZ, and they sent it to her first and then sent it to TMZ. So O'Sullivan asked her, did you release any DNA evidence? Millie said no. So the evidence that was presented was a tweet where Millie states that uh, from DJ Academics that there is no DNA evidence, and Millie says that she reported what DJ Academics posted. I do remember when DJ Academics posted this. I can't remember the name of the reporter from, was it the Rolling Stone? Was posting one thing, and then DJ Academics would go onto Twitter and kind of say, no, that's false, and the media is basically trying to paint Tory out to be guilty and yada yada yada. So he posted that he heard that there was no DNA evidence found. Tory's DNA was not found on the gun, and Milagro basically said that she just copy and pasted that, and she copy and pasted exactly what DJ Academics posted on his social media. All right. So you had no idea this info was going to be released. This is what O'Sullivan asked. Millie said no. So Millie was speaking fast, and at this point, the court reporter asked her to repeat herself. She had a little bit of an attitude, but I'll get into that later. The court reporter, that is. So O'Sullivan, he pulls notes from Millie's notebook that she had at the Tory Lanez trial. Tory Lanez versus the state of California versus Tory Lanez. So Millie said that she had attended the trial, which she did, and she had written notes. And she had filled up 2 notebooks. So I guess during this was presented as evidence, and they went through those notebooks, and they presented evidence from her notebooks where she wrote, Tory cannot be excluded. Tory was excluded from DNA on magazine. So then they also played a station head clip, Lord, audio. This is the part that was the cringiest. Whenever they played the audio, again, those of you who are used to Milagro's way of presenting the news, you know what she gives, okay? Hearing that in a courtroom, yikes, all right? So this audio in particular states, I'm not retracting a damn thing. Sue me if you don't agree, okay? And this is in reference to Tory's DNA not being found on the gun, what was alleged, okay? She said, my sources tell me Tory Lanez's side has the form that states that his DNA was not on the gun. I'm not taking my tweet down. If it's all a lie, then Megan, get to suing. Academics deleted his SHIT. I'm not deleting mine, okay? And she also stated that her and DJ Academics have the same sources. That was so cringe. Everybody was looking like, what the heck? So just a quick thought, all right? So I wrote down some of my, thoughts and opinions while taking down this information. I did say that Milagro is no fool. I'm just going to say Millie because I'm so used to saying Millie when referring to her. That's Milagro Gramz. Millie's no fool, right? So now she may have done some dumb-ish, all right? And she may have a foul mouth, very, very foul, vulgar mouth, okay? But she is keeping up with O'Sullivan. This is when I start to notice, like, okay, yeah, she giving him some work. And he kind of, at a couple of points, he started to get a little frustrated because she wouldn't answer the questions the way I guess he wanted her to. So anyway, O'Sullivan, he's basically asking who is her source. Millie said that she had a hotline where people would call. People online would send her information, and she said she doesn't have an exact name. All right. So then another clip from her deposition video was played. Millie and Sunstar, they meet up in Miami. O'Sullivan asked if Sunstar, Tory Lanez's father, told her anything about what happened the night of the shooting. So Sunstar then, she said no. She said basically like that wasn't the nature of their relationship. They talked about many other things, So I guess O'Sullivan is trying to frame it that the sole purpose of them meeting up was to get information that Tori gave the father. And the father now is giving the information to Millie to report. That's basically what they're trying to say. Like Millie was the mouthpiece for Tory Lanez through the father. All right. So there was a text between Millie and Sunstar, and it reads, "Happy Thanksgiving, Mila." That's what he called Milagros. "Can you send me those materials ASAP? It's go time." So Sullivan said, "What materials was he asking for?" Millie said that she says that Kelsey's mom, Kelsey is the former best friend who was in the car the night of the incident, right, back in 2020. Kelsey's mom and sister went online defending Kelsey. And they were basically saying in this online live, they were basically saying that Megan Thee Stallion could have cost Kelsey her life or so. I didn't see it, but I did hear people, talking about it. Anyway, Millie is saying that Sunstar wanted the materials that she, Millie, pulled from online that made her, doubtful about Megan's story. Okay. So it looks like Millie is retrieving information online because she has, access and the ability to navigate online, and people are providing her with information. So it's being framed that Millie is pulling all this information online and from other sources and from whoever is providing her with information, sending it to Sunstar to, I guess, send to Tory and his legal team to use as a defense. That's how it's being framed, right? So Millie went on to discuss Megan's incident between Megan and her ex-boyfriend Kareem, that resulted in Megan being arrested. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a guy that Megan dated, and apparently they got into a physical altercation and they got pulled over. I think Megan told the story as well on one of her lives. They got pulled over and he told the cops that Megan hit him and was physical with him. And she ended up getting locked up and going to jail. Okay. And this is the info that, Millie says that she sent to. This is also the information that she says that she sent to Sunstar. Okay. I guess that's framing Milagro. I mean, framing Megan in an aggressive light. Okay. Let's see. Text from Millie to Sunstar. "I had a private conversation with one of Megan's friends, which is Chelsea. Chelsea is not Kelsey. She wasn't there the night of the incident. Chelsea is someone different. Now, Chelsea says, according to Millie, Chelsea tells her that T. Ferris is Megan's guardian. Okay, because I think Millie had insinuated or speculated that Megan and T. Ferris were sleeping around, and Chelsea corrected Millie's assumption by saying that T. Ferris is Megan's guardian. So the lawyer points out that Millie used this to accuse Megan of being quote unquote retarded or or that she has a mental issue. Now, Millie can be heard on her a few of her, more than a few of her station head episodes, where she says that Megan has mental issues and that she's slow, so on and so forth. So Millie, she actually rebuttals by saying that she questioned Chelsea's verbiage and thought that a 20-something-year-old, referring to Megan at the time, having a guardian was odd. So the judge, this is when they go for a recess. So the jury is dismissed, and before we, the public, press people in public, are dismissed for the recess, the judge makes a statement. The judge is saying that the jury is having a hard time following what is being said. And the judge admitted that she herself is having a hard time understanding about 80% of what's being said. So I took that as that she does not understand Milagro's vernacular. I don't think that Millie talks fast, but I can understand why people would think that she talks fast. Plus, she does have an accent, and she is speaking professionally. But I don't know. a cultural difference. That's the only thing that I could chalk it up to. And there's other couple of other instances where I think that the cultural differences play a part in, some misunderstanding as well. So the judge basically said at this time, again before the recess. Now the jury is not in the courtroom at this time when she said this. She was asking that some sort of a transcript that she can follow along with, or maybe the jury can follow along with. She said because she herself, like I said, is having a hard time understanding 80% of what is being said. And I thought that was interesting. And yes, the judge is a white woman. All right. Now, after recess, now I walk back into the courtroom, right? And they're playing audio of Kelsey's deposition. This is again from the state of California versus Tory Lanez trial. Like I wasn't in California for this trial. However, I guess it's good for me to hear for myself some of the things that transpired before and during this trial. But I started to get a little bored because I said to myself, I don't want to hear about the Tory Lanez trial. I didn't understand the direction that Megan's lawyer was going into. I don't know. I just didn't understand his angle that he was taking, his approach. So I said, well, let me just sit back, relax, take notes, and see where this goes, right? So yeah, I walk back into the courtroom and there's audio of Kelsey's deposition playing in the courtroom where she's discussing the events of the night of the shooting. Now, Millie was asked her thoughts on Kelsey's interview. Millie, she stated that she didn't believe the events transpired the way that Kelsey explained. Now, if you are not familiar, what Kelsey said in the deposition was completely different from what Kelsey said on the stand during that trial of California versus Tory Lanez. She basically said on the stand during that trial that she lied in her deposition, because in her deposition she stated that Tory did pop Megan and that he did offer her, both of them, money to keep quiet. Anyway, so Millie, she also stated that during the Tory trial, Kelsey said on the stand that she wasn't truthful in her interview and only said that because she was scared. Millie says Kelsey is not, she didn't consider Kelsey a credible witness, which makes sense because you said one thing in your deposition and then you're saying one thing on the stand. And then if you guys are following the case, you know that she pled the fifth. She got immunity. I don't know. I don't remember. Can you repeat the question? It was just a whole bunch of nonsense. So O'Sullivan asked her, did you accuse Megan of lying on the witness stand? Millie said, I posed the question. Now, O'Sullivan seemed to be getting annoyed with Millie. This is what I wrote, because she's not answering the questions the way he wants her to. Millie is making sure not to get tripped up by O'Sullivan. It's like a game of cat and mouse. That's what I observed. And he did continuously state that Millie was a part of Tory's team. You're a part of the team, right? So being a part of the team, you sent this information. And every single time he stated that Millie was a part of the team, she corrected him. It was more than like 4 times, right? I didn't keep count, but it was more than 4 times. Every single time he tried to sneak that verbiage into his questioning, she corrected him every single time, calmly and smoothly, right? So Millie says that there were holes in Megan's story. A deposition video was played where Millie says that she believes that Megan was lying about being shot. And it seems to me that that is what O'Sullivan, Megan's lawyer, is targeting at this time anyway, right? You kept saying that Megan was lying. Didn't you say she was lying? You said that she was lying. She wasn't truthful. What makes you think that she was lying? What evidence do you have that she was lying? Tory was found guilty. Weren't you at the trial? Didn't you read the transcripts from the trial? You took notes at the trial. Like, he just kept saying that, and Megan and Milagro kept saying she posed the question. She doesn't believe that Megan was truthful, you know. So in a nice way, she was basically saying that Megan was lying. So this was played in an attempt to prove O'Sullivan's point that Millie stated that Meg was lying about being shot. Now, although on the stand, Millie's angle is that she posed a question online. Now, Millie feels that although Tory was found guilty, she has the right to challenge the verdict and stated that juries have gotten it wrong. Now, I believe that this is a true statement. This is what Millie said on the stand. Trial Exhibit A was a picture of the GUN in the back of the truck that they were all in that night. Now, Millie is sending, yeah, I said that Millie is sending the lawyer on a tailspin. She's not answering the questions straightforwardly. And every time I jotted that down, like I said, the lawyer was getting a little bit frustrated. But of course, he kept his composure, you know. Another trial exhibit. Tory Lanez' phone call from jail to Kelsey, that was played in the courtroom. And Tory tells Kelsey that he said, I was so drunk, I didn't know what was going on. I think you guys should have heard about this in the press, at the time. He said, I was so drunk, I didn't know what was going on, and I don't move like that. What happened earlier, I can't take it back. I don't even know what we was arguing about. He then asked what hospital Megan was in, then told Kelsey to call his bodyguard to get him bailed out, right? And then he said, I'm sorry I did that, SHIT. Now, Millie says that O'Sullivan said, basically, Tory's confessing. Millie says, I wouldn't call that a confession. And she said, if someone shot my best friend, I wouldn't be on the phone with them, and I wouldn't be calm and letting them know what hospital, you know what I'm saying, that they were in. I said, good point. Tory didn't say, he didn't say literally, I apologize for shooting Meg, right? However, Tory wouldn't admit to shooting someone on a recorded line from jail. You get what I'm saying? So I did jot that down as well. So I get it. I get what Millie is saying. However, I also get, what were you apologizing for? What was it that you were so drunk and so sorry for? Like, you said you didn't even know what was going on. I know she's never going to talk to me again. So we can speculate that it was about him popping Megan, but he didn't literally say it. But also, who the hell in their right mind would say that from jail on a recorded line? I don't think anybody in their right mind, right? So there you have that. Now, Millie, she's told to read a text message from Tory to Meg saying, I'm sorry, I was drunk. Milagro claims that Sunstar told her that Megan stepped on glass at Tory's house prior to Tory Lanez, popping her, to that incident. So I said to myself, well, what did this have to do with anything? So Millie said that she didn't say this to the public because that's hearsay. And I said, oh, Millie, girl, what? So the assumption is that Megan might have re-injured herself, and her injuries weren't from a gunshot, but from re-injuring her foot by stepping on glass. And I said, interesting. I don't recall hearing that. And I'm assuming this is the first. I don't know if she said that in her deposition, but that's kind of odd. Millie's whole thing is basically, when the situation happened, it was reported, and Megan even admitted that she lied. She said that she told officers that she stepped on glass because she didn't want to tell the authorities that there was, a weapon in the car and what had happened to her because of the situation that just happened with George Floyd. And, they're young Black people in a car, and it's a whole lot going on, and she was scared. Okay. So that is one of the reasons why Millie is saying that Megan is not credible, because first she stepped on glass, then they found bullet fragments in her foot, but not bullets. So Milagro has her reasons why, whether they're valid, that's to be determined by the jury, but she has her reasons why she feels that Megan is not being truthful, because there were a lot of holes in the story. They did play the 5 gunshots, and when they were played, Millie, she says that she feels that someone was struggling for the gun, because there were 3 shots, and then there was, I guess, a little bit of silence. And she said that she recalled a male voice saying stop after the 3rd gunshot, and then 2 more shots were fired, right? So at this point, the court reporter again asked Millie to slow down, and Millie apologized. Now, at this point, I'm getting annoyed, because I'm saying to myself, what kind of court report, like, what's wrong with your spirit finger, sister? Like, and then she has an attitude. She's like, I keep telling you, and I'm just like, And the judge even said something as well, like, one person has to speak at a time and you have to talk slowly and clearly. The judge seemed like she was, I don't know. I'm going to wait. I'm going to reserve my opinion about the judge until after Megan gets on the stand. Megan is supposed to get on the stand tomorrow, which would be day 3. But I have my opinions about the judge, and maybe it'll change. But the court reporter is just like, she can't keep up. I don't know. Maybe that's common, but it just seems weird. Okay. I remember watching the YNW Melly trial, like every day, watching it, and I do not remember the court reporter ever having an issue. But everybody's different. Anyway, so they're still reviewing Milagro's notebook from the Tory Lanez trial. So O'Sullivan is going over her notes that she took and questioning her stance and point of view, basically. So O'Sullivan, he kept referring to Millie as someone who's a part of Tory's team. I did say this before, and Millie corrected him each time. So she's stating that she's not on his team. O'Sullivan, he wrote a song about you, right? Millie said, he mentioned me, but I don't think he wrote a song about me. So I guess this was to kind of insinuate how close they really were. So much so that he allegedly wrote a song about her, but Millie corrected him and said that, yeah, he mentioned me in the song. And she said that she doesn't think that he's the first person. She said, come to think of it, a couple of other people have mentioned me in their songs as well. So they move on to more text messages with Sunstar, and he's giving her his address because she was going to his house, and she said that she did meet up with him, and she met up with him and his family. Sunstar's message to Milagro, which is again Tory Lanez's father, he tells her that a message will be coming from Tory's camp, and it appears that he wanted her to get her audience ready for the news that Tory was expected to post. Okay. So the lawyer was like, oh, so he was basically giving you the scoop. So they show the post where Millie tells Megan to get over it and go away, and basically said that Megan is a celebrity. So she is going to be talked about. And if she doesn't like it, she needs to get over it or just go away, because Megan had took to social media to express her frustration about being constantly criticized and talked about. So that was Millie's response to, Megan's frustration with always being talked about in reference to this Tory Lanez trial. So while speaking, the court reporter got frustrated and asked, Millie to slow down, and she just kept apologizing, and she kept saying, I keep telling you over and over again. And then there was a lunch break. Now, in reference to the fashion, right? I didn't talk about this in the beginning, but I'm pretty sure that you guys saw this on other media outlets pages, right? So let's get into a fashion break real quick. So this is, who is this? This is Milagro. This is courtesy of Megan Cuniff. She is at the court, and she is taking video of Millie walking out of the court. How do you feel? God bless you guys. Thank you so much. You look so good too. Hey, beautiful. Okay. Look at the coat. So that's the TMZ reporter that she's talking to, but this is Megan Cuniff reporting. So she had on like a tan or a cream colored like jacket and pants to match, and then she had her long cream coat on, and the sleeves look like they're like fur of some sort, and then she had a scarf tied around her her neck, and then here is Megan.
Lover girl look?
Yes.
All right.
This is her leaving the courtroom. So she had on like a mauve peplum top with a skirt to match, and she had her red pumps on with her red bag shaped in the heart. And Megan Cuniff was asking, hey, Megan, is this your lover girl look? And she shrugged her shoulders, and her hair was, short but curled on the end. Very, I guess 60s. Would that be the 60s maybe? 50s, 60s? So this is another day of her wearing a jacket and a skirt. Yet day one she had on a houndstooth jacket and skirt to match with her black pocketbook. So she keeps it cute and simple, very friendly to reporters. Same thing with Milagro, very friendly. No one's nasty, no one's rude. So that is the uh report, fashion report. And I did see Megan on my way back into court. She was coming out of the bathroom and making her way back into the courtroom. And up close, she did look well put together. She did look nice. And I also saw her when I was in the bathroom as well. She was in the bathroom also. Did I speak? No, I didn't speak, didn't say anything. She was with her, I guess that's her friend. I don't know if that's her relative or her friend. But she followed her to the bathroom and she accompanied her out of the courtroom. And she was sitting right behind her as well, her friend or whoever that lady is. So yeah, but yeah, I'm not one of them people who get like fanned out when I see entertainers. To me, they're human beings, no shade, no disrespect. So we get back from lunch break, and then out of nowhere, the judge had mentioned while we was all rise for Judge such and such, while we were still standing before the jury came back in, um, she asked about someone being threatened, the judge. So I'm like, what? Who was threatening somebody? I'm thinking it had to do like with the case. Like, I don't know. I don't know what. I just thought it had to do like with the plaintiff and the defendant. So I'm just like, okay, I'm writing this down. So the judge asked, was someone threatened? So Milagro's lawyer was like, no, not from the defense. We weren't threatened, or we didn't threaten anyone. And she asked, was someone in here threatened or something like that? And then there was a blue suit behind me, the lawyer. Like I said, there were a couple of lawyers who were in and out of the courtroom. So in the bench behind me, in the pew, I should say, behind me, one of the lawyers raised his hand, and she told him to come. The judge told him to come up, and a lawyer came to the stand, and he stated that he heard someone threaten another person and call them a derogatory name. The lawyer stated that because the judge asked him, "Are you a lawyer?" He said yes, but he's not affiliated with the case. Like I said, I don't know why these lawyers are in and out, but whatever. He was one of the like many that were in and out, and he said that he did not see the person's face, but he did hear someone make a threat and then make derogatory comments, but not towards him. He said to someone else, but he said he didn't see the face of the person. So the judge, and he went back to his seat. She said, thank you. He went back to his seat. So the judge made it clear that if someone makes threats, that they will be, barred from the court, put out and barred from attending future cases. She was being a little, I mean, I can understand, you have to take that seriously, but she was like, if you threaten anyone, you won't be able to come into this courtroom and take your copious notes. Because I guess she sees those of us in the audience, taking notes. So whatever. I was confused because I thought that when she asked if someone was threatened, he raised his hand. And I'm saying to myself, who the heck threatened this guy? That's what I thought he was going to go up there to say, but he said what he said. Anyway, so back from lunch break, all right? So the judge made it clear that none of that will be going on in her courtroom. So we're back from break. So Millie, she is back on the stand. Boy, I was tired, so I can only imagine. Anyway, so they pull up Millie's tweet, and the tweet reads, "Let me go find the receipt of Megan's bestie telling me she wasn't effing T. Ferris. That was her guardian." They play another tweet. No, in reference to that tweet, O'Sullivan is asking, why is she still investigating this 2 years after the verdict of the California versus Tory Lanez trial? He just can't seem to understand, like, he was found guilty. Why are you still like reporting on this? Why are you still digging? What is the purpose, Then there's visual evidence, two images of Megan's residence in Millie's phone. And he asks, like, do you just go around having people's addresses in your phone? Now, her reason is that she said that she was doing research, and because many of the instances took place in California. I didn't quite understand. I didn't get that. At this point, I was kind of like, zoning out. I was getting a little bit bored, because to me, it just seemed like Megan's lawyer was asking the same damn questions over and over again. So O'Sullivan asked her about her two canceled Twitter accounts, right? So Millie says that Megan's fans mass reported her accounts, so it was shut down. And then O'Sullivan asked her, do you ever take accountability? He asked, what rule did she break to get her page reported? Objection from Millie's counsel. Judge requests to move on. Millie never answered because they kept objecting. And O'Sullivan had to continuously rephrase the question. And the judge eventually was like, let's just move on. And at this point, I wrote that Millie ain't going down without a fight. She's rebutting every question and has an answer for every piece of evidence. And I don't blame her. Listen, she fighting for her life. Now, in reference to the Twitter thing, right? What Megan was trying to explain to O'Sullivan is that if you have a Twitter page, right, and your page is mass reported. She said that Megan's fans mass reported the page because a lot of them were bragging about it online. What she was trying to get O'Sullivan to understand, Millie, that is that you don't necessarily have to, quote unquote, violate a rule. If someone mass reports your page, Twitter shuts it down immediately. Then she created another one. They mass reported that, according to Millie, and they shut that down. His whole thing is, well, what did you do to violate the rules to get your page shut down? That's when there was an objection. And he tried to rephrase the question. And that's when he asked, do you ever take accountability? He was getting frustrated, because it's like, do you ever, because she's not answering the questions, majority of the questions, with yes, no, I did this, I was wrong. She's explaining a lot. And she is giving you reasons why this is that. Again, I don't blame her. She's fighting for her life. What would you do, right? Even though some of it, in some instances, it's like, Millie, girl, now you BSing. Now, girl, you in here playing. But at the end of the day, she's being sued. Like, what is she gonna just like lay down and take it? This could have not gone to trial, but here we are. So then they go into talking about Tory Lanez's driver didn't testify at the Tory trial, and O'Sullivan asked if Millie thought that was odd. She said, what did she say? She didn't think that was odd. And he said, he pointed out the fact that Tory Lanez himself didn't testify, and his driver or bodyguard or whoever it was had the opportunity to testify, and he didn't. And I think he wrote an affidavit instead of testifying in court. And, O'Sullivan was basically a roundabout way trying to say, like, duh, doesn't that make Tory guilty? What do you think, right? So Millie said this, O'Sullivan said that Millie was served on October 20th, and she started deleting messages on October 29th. And she was on the phone with Sunstar on October 30th. So they're painting Millie as part of Tory's team, specifically being his quote-unquote mouthpiece due to Tory having a gag order in place. So to them, Millie got info from Tory to put out to the public. This is what O'Sullivan is making it seem like. Now, in reference to her deleting text messages, right, she was told on the 20th, there was an order that she was not supposed to be deleting text messages. And according to them, she started deleting the messages on October 29th. And then she had communication with Tory Lanez's father on the 30th. Okay. So then they go into Unite the People. Oh, boy. Millie says that they approached her and said that they wanted to represent her pro bono for free. And Caesar told Millie that he would handle everything regarding the lawsuit Megan filed against Millie. Millie received a preservation letter advising her not to delete anything from her phone. And it was said in court that Millie deleted hundreds of messages and information and stated on the stand that her lawyers at the time told her that she can delete info from her phone as long as it's not relevant to the case. Now, I call BS. I call BS and I say that Millie, you knew better. But again, she's on the stand fighting for her life. She's going to say anything, right? Because that preservation letter was very clear. And then the lawyer, he started to get annoyed because he said the letter states that you cannot delete anything from your phone. Like, you understand what that means. You know, he composed himself, but she is not, Millie, like, you didn't understand the type of witness that Millie was going to be just based on the evidence that you seen, sir. Like, you listen to her station head, right? Like, you see how she speaks and how she is, and you thought this was gonna be an easy witness? I don't know. So at this time, I put my thoughts. I put the O'Sullivan fella seems to be hell bent on the Tory Lanez trial and Millie not believing that Megan was shot. Although it's day 2, I have yet to have the the presentation of the deep fake PORN video. Maybe they're building their case, but it seems to be moving very slow. This was just my interpretation or my thoughts at the time. 2 full days of Milagro on the stand and what exactly was accomplished. So it's up to the jury to decide at the end of the day. That was just my thoughts at that time, right? So then they move into yes, Millie has definitely posed some questions about Megan that are suspect and has said some wild stuff about Megan. Millie's audio. Every time they play the audio, y'all, I cringe. She called Megan a big bitch and said that she wouldn't fight her because they showed a picture. I don't who was she? I forgot who she was standing next to, but whoever she was standing next to, Megan, that is, she was taller than. And then the commentary that followed was, you know, Milagro calling her a big B word, and said, "I wouldn't fight her." She said, because you lost someone, that makes it okay to lie on someone, because you guys know that both Megan's parents are deceased. Millie also said Megan wouldn't be in this situation if she would put the bottle down. O'Sullivan says, why were you speaking with such vitriol about Megan long after the case? Millie, I grew up with my grandparents and I watched Richard Pryor, Martin, etc. So what you call vitriol is a persona. You see what I'm saying? This is the type of ish that I'm talking about. Millie she may do and say some wild ish. But that girl is like, she is ready for every single question. She has a rebuttal for every freaking question. Who said, what the hell is Richard? I understand what she's saying, but I know they're probably like, what the hell does Richard Pryor have to do with anything, and you growing up with your grandparents? She's basically saying this is a persona. This is I'm in character when I'm saying stuff like this. But it just doesn't sound good in a courtroom, especially full of people who don't really know the context of certain things. They just hear you saying nasty things about Megan Thee Stallion. So it can come across, well, it's bullying. It is bullying. And it's going to look that way, especially to these people who in the jury who have no clue as to what you're talking about per se, and they're not connecting the dots. And in my opinion, O'Sullivan's line of questioning is not really, to me, I can't speak for the juror, but I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't seem like it's helping. He's not connecting the dots for the jury to understand. I don't know. It was a little all over the place. So O'Sullivan is turning up the pressure, stating that Millie turns what Megan stated on the internet about her drinking into something negative, and that's how she gets noticed on the internet. Millie says, I was not the only one who gave commentary on what Megan said on the internet. Then they play Millie's audio where she says, I think that Megan has mental health issues. I do think she's retarded. Lord have mercy. She talked about Megan's wig. She called it a nappy ass N-word wig. When I tell you I was cringing and I was like, oh my God. And at this point, I said to myself, I'm looking over at Megan and I'm looking at her expressions and I'm looking like, I wonder what she's thinking. And then I said to myself, having the entire courtroom hear someone say the most vile and disrespectful things about you has got to be embarrassing. I look over at Megan and I can't really gauge her emotions. She is poised, and at sometimes she's stone faced. But at this point, she was looking at Millie on the stand, and there were instances where I looked over and she had like her head down. I don't know if she was writing something down. um I could see her diagonally to my left, but I can't see like if she's writing something down, but her head was down. Millie then goes on to say that she's a fan of Megan's, and that sparked some reaction from some of the people in the audience. They smirked and they looked like, what? So Millie said that she's a fan of Megan's, and if she truly believed that Megan was pop, that she would support her. But she said that she truly doesn't believe her, and Millie's voice started to crack a little bit. Um, and she said, I just truly don't like. It was a little bit dramatic. I didn't think that she was gonna cry. I thought that she was performing a little bit, and then Mr. O'Sullivan he rests. Now the cross examination, Millie's lawyer, he's a male. He talked about her having two depositions. The first deposition, Millie said, was 7 hours long, and the second deposition was about 10 hours. And his angle is basically saying that depositions are long, and you don't end with the same level of concentration as you started with. So he pretty much just asked the same questions that Mr. O'Sullivan asked, but in reverse. He was real casual. um Millie said that she can't recall the full context of some of the text messages that were brought up by O'Sullivan because they were so long ago. So at this point, to me, she begins to sound like tired in her tone, but she's answering questions quickly as she was before. She just emphasized how tiring the depositions were, and she says that she has two daughters and she's given birth naturally to two children, and the deposition is more exhausting than giving birth. And then she starts to kind of sound a little bit like exhausted. Her tone matched what it is that she was saying or trying to get across. She's asked if she remembers the content of all of the live streams that she's done in the past, and she says no. He asked about Joe Budden, all right, and asked if Joe Budden called Megan a liar. She says yes. He asked if academics called Megan a liar along with Aiden Ross. Millie answered yes. So he points out that these men have millions of followers, and Millie has far less followers across all her platforms combined. He points that out. And he goes into talking about this hotline that Millie said that she had. And there was an image of a message that Millie received from someone who wanted to give her info about Megan. Several images were shown of people trying to contact her to give her information. All right. So Millie, she steps down after the cross-examination. The judge instructs for the next witness to be called. So then this is when a paralegal acts as the next witness, and the witness was not available, and that witness is Kelsey. So Kelsey is the witness being represented by the paralegal, and this is when she was at the Tory Lanez trial. So the paralegal is reading transcripts. So someone from another lady lawyer, I don't know if she's an assistant or what, she is acting as if she is the lawyer at the from the Tory Lanez trial, questioning Kelsey. So they're going back and forth and they're reading transcripts. I was confused because I'm saying to myself, even if they had the audio, why are we listening to this? So this is, let me tell you something. This is where I said to myself, I'm glad that I was not at the Tory Lanez trial, because, oh my goodness, The transcripts basically showed, or proved that Kelsey pled the fifth every 2 seconds. She asked the lawyer to repeat the question. I'm sorry, I zoned out. Can you repeat the question? Oh, there's noise. Oh, I didn't say that. I wasn't telling the truth in my in my interview. I don't recall who popped Megan. I didn't say that Tory did it. I don't believe he did it. Just completely doing a 180. Um and then she was asked if she was the one that popped Megan, and she was asked more than once, and she said no. Uh I was irritated, and shout out to the people who went to the Tory Lanez trial, the California versus Tory Lanez trial, and had to sit and listen to Kelsey. So on the stand during that trial, Kelsey said that she couldn't remember what she said during the deposition, and she said that she lied in her deposition. She said that Tory tried to bribe her and others and offered her $1 million, and she pled the fifth several times. And that is where we ended for the day. And I think I guess my notes kind of seemed all over the place. That wasn't my intention. I was just trying to kind of like get in my groove. Again, it's day 2 of the trial, but my first day sitting in, and I kind of wanted to get everything. My synopsis, my summary so far, I don't understand O'Sullivan's line of questioning. And maybe there is a method to his madness or his questioning. I'm not saying that he should do this, he shouldn't do that. I was just trying to follow along, and now I wish I would have went day 1, because I wonder what the extent of his questioning was on day 1. So, summary here: Megan's lawyers, they focus on the Tory Lanez trial and how he was found guilty by a jury, and that the evidence provided proved his guilt. He also stated, the Megan's lawyer, that Tory didn't testify, nor did Quan, who was Tory's driver. He states that if he was innocent, he would take the stand to prove his innocence. I also wrote that Milagro held firm on her stance that she does not believe that Megan was popped by Tory, and stated that there were bullet fragments removed from her foot and not an actual bullet. Therefore, this causes Milagro to pose the question, was Megan really popped? Milagro does not believe that she was. So O'Sullivan's time with Milagro was a bit long. This is what I wrote for my summary. And I attended trial today, day 2, and she was on the stand all of day 1. I think he wore himself out. I don't know if he was hoping that Milagro would say, yes, Tory popped Meg, but he should have known that was not going to happen based on all of the station head audio they had. Excuse me. He should have been able to gauge her personality as well as her strong stance on the situation. Maybe there is a cultural disconnect, and that is where my notes come to an end. Ooh, Lord. 58 minutes. Y'all, let me tell you something. If you made it to the end of this video, I greatly appreciate it. All right. So I will be in court, Lord willing, for day 3. Megan Thee Stallion is supposed to be taking the stand. And there's a couple things. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to compare how long Megan is going to be on that stand. Is she going to be on there for 2 days? This case could definitely be wrapped up by like maybe Tuesday of next week. Okay. Next week is a holiday. If this goes beyond Thanksgiving, I don't know. I'll just be shaking my head. My bet is that Megan is not going to be on the stand for as long as Milagro. But I'm curious to see the line of questioning from both sides. So that's when I think things are going to start getting moving. Okay. Yeah, that's when things are going to start moving. But today it had its highs, it had its lows, it dragged out. And we'll just see where it goes. Okay. Like I said before, I'm on nobody's side. I'm on She Royal B's side. So if you're looking for me to disparage anyone or pick a side, don't tell me to pick a side, because that never works for me. Okay. You will end up getting canceled. Okay. So there is no side for me to pick. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Hopefully the jury will get it together and follow along. We'll see what happens. There's gonna be a new witness on the stand. That's gonna be Megan Thee Stallion, and we'll see how she, reacts to being questioned. We'll see what the both sides have to say. So we'll see. That's all I can say. Um, yeah, so that's about it. Like I said, if you made it to the end, thank you, thank you, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Share your thoughts respectfully, please. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think respectfully, please. Don't forget to like the video. That's your admission fee. Subscribe to the channel if you're a new subscriber. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the royal family. There's multiple ways that you can support the platform. You can become a member. There are 2 tiers of membership. You can donate. You can sow a seed to the Cash App. Okay, you can also join the Patreon. All of this information is in the description of this video. All right, y'all, it's time for me to go. I got to get up early. All right, so make sure your notifications are on. I'm gonna go live at least once. It's a little challenging for me to grab my phone and go live. So I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna be tweeting. I'm gonna try to tweet a little bit more tomorrow. But I'll probably just do like one quick live, just like I did today, and keep it moving, and then come home, gather everything, gather my notes, and put up a video for you. All right, y'all. That's all I got. Ain't got no more. I love you for watching, and until next time, I will talk to you later.